Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the Seattle Seahawks. I found a poll earlier today and I found it absolutely fascinating. So if you didn't know, Seattle currently, actually congratulations to Geno Smith, last night won Comeback Player of the Year. It is official. He's set to hit free agency, but thanks to Russ, the Seahawks have the 5th pick in the draft. And here was the poll. If the Seahawks draft a QB, who do the fans want the most? 28% of them went with CJ Stroud, 17% Anthony Richardson, 16% Will Levis, 14% Hendon Hooker, and only 13% want Bryce Young. Now, here's the bottom line. You have a couple of options, all right? You could sign Geno Smith, who really did have a stellar season. He really did. He brought them to the playoffs, led them as a leader, and threw 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He had a beautiful, almost 70% completion percentage. But at the same time, he's 32 years old right now. So by next season, around starting time, he'll be about 33. So do you really want to sign him to, say, a 4-year contract, give him a big bag, maybe 4 years, $140-ish million, with some incentives or some guarantees, however they want to do it? You have that option. You could franchise tag Geno Smith at around $32 million. You could franchise Geno and then trade him, or you could just let him walk, take your pick, and you also have the 5th pick, and they'd probably 100% go with a quarterback. Now, the good news is this. The Seahawks have 5 selections in the top 100 this year, and they're also loaded with $49.4 million. That's the 5th best cap situation in the NFL. Now, before we get any further into this video, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button if you guys enjoy it. Now, I post also daily NFL content. I post a bunch of Seahawks videos. Let me know if you guys want more Seahawks videos. I'm going to do it regardless, so it doesn't even matter. Anyways, this is like the big thing with Seattle, because they finished the year 9-8. The season started a lot better than a lot of people were anticipating. You played Tampa Bay in Germany, and that was kind of, I wouldn't say like a downfall, but when they lost that game, they lost 3 of their next 4. So the season didn't necessarily end as well as it started, but thanks to wins against the Jets and the Rams, they made the playoffs. And they were actually beating San Francisco, who at the time was one of the hottest, if not the hottest team, right there with, I guess most of the teams in the playoffs. But, Cincinnati. San Francisco hadn't lost in months. And they were beating them at halftime. So, I don't know, man. This is the big decision. Because, yes, do the Seattle Seahawks have other needs they need? Yep, 100%. 100%. But they're loaded with draft picks. And last year, they did a phenomenal job drafting. Whether that was in the offensive line, whether that was in the secondary, whether that was Kenneth Walker, it doesn't matter. All of their picks just about were great picks, in my opinion. It's something I don't think too many people are really noticing outside of Seahawks fans. With that 5th pick, you could go with an edge rusher. Maybe you get Jalen Carter. They also could use a safety. There are also looming decisions like, well, what about Jamal Adams? All right, what about Jordan Brooks? Jordan Brooks, do you pick up that 5th-year option? I say yes, because I don't think he's going to miss the whole year. He just had ACL surgery less than a month ago. That's not great news, but professional athletes these days, they come back a lot quicker than I could ever even imagine. But I don't know. I don't want to get too into the Jordan Brooks situation in today's video, but I think in all ways, shapes, and forms, if you pick up that 5th-year option, I think that benefits Seattle a lot. The offensive line, the guard position, the cornerback room. Now, when we look at Seattle, yes, you have Geno Smith, and yes, they exceeded expectations, but when we zoom out, it's like, where are they in the grand scheme of things? Well, they're ahead of schedule, or at least Last year, they were extremely ahead of schedule. Most people predicted the Seahawks to be one of the worst 5 teams, if not one of the worst or second worst teams in the entire league. And that is not how it went at all. So they're in an interesting situation right now because you have all of these quarterbacks. Imagine, like, just use a divisional rival, for example, Brock Purdy. If the San Francisco, and they're basically what I've gathered, and I think most people have gathered with Brock Purdy, is he's going to be the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Well, what is he on? He's on a rookie contract. So, yeah, Geno Smith, paying him $30+ million, around $34 to $36 million a year, that isn't as ideal as drafting a stud at 5 and giving him the keys and building around that on a rookie contract, right? Like Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, etc., etc. Now, I think in a perfect world, what they could do is trade back from 5, maybe with either Las Vegas or Carolina, who really wants a quarterback, and get a first-round pick for next year, and then compile your first-round picks to trade for a quarterback next year, because I'm not sold on this quarterback class. I'm pretty sold on Geno Smith as far as can he lead them back to the playoffs? I think 100%. Why not? I think their issues lie more on the defensive side. They do have a young and hungry defense. But, I like CJ Stroud. I like Anthony Richardson. As far as the poll goes, those were the top 2 names. I think CJ Stroud has the potential to be a day one, could get you into the playoffs quarterback. I really liked what I saw at the end of the season, especially in the playoffs, from CJ Stroud. Anthony Richardson, I think, is a little bit more of a project. So if you're looking more so with the quote-unquote rebuild, I don't think 9-8 playoff teams are really in a rebuild anymore, but if you want all of your young studs on a similar trajectory, Anthony Richardson is, maybe not the first year is going to be the best, but I know a lot of people who think Anthony Richardson will be the best quarterback in this draft class. And that's a guy you could trade down and still acquire some assets and, just stay aggressive. Will Levis, I don't get the hype with Will Levis in any facet. No disrespect to him, he seems like a really cool guy, he even follows my golf company on Instagram, but I think he's had plenty of opportunities to distinguish himself at Kentucky, and I did not see that ever. He had plenty of weapons. Don't listen to what people are saying. Will Levis had plenty of weapons at Kentucky, and they were a giant letdown, the whole team. So Hendon Hooker is interesting because he's not projected to go in the first round. So maybe Seattle could have it a little bit of, they could have a little bit of everything. What is that saying? Have your pie and eat it too, whatever that is. Because you can pick at 5, you can have your first 2-round picks, and you can also take, maybe you could still re-sign Geno to a more moderate 3-ish, 2 to 3 year contract and take a guy like Hendon Hooker. Well, I'm not all that big on that possibility, but it is a possibility out there. So all of this is just speculation, and at the end of the day, what it's going to come down to is they have to figure out the quarterback situation. You don't pay players, let alone your quarterbacks, any players in any sport. You don't pay them based on what they've done. You pay them on what you think that next contract they're going to provide for you. And as far as I'm concerned, I like Geno Smith. But 4 years, $140 million, that's a big move. It is a big move. They do have the cap space to make that happen, but it's a big move. Franchise tagging him and starting him or trading him. I'm curious to see what Seattle is going to do, and I'm really curious to hear what Seahawks fans themselves want to do in this situation. So be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button if you guys enjoy it and want more Seahawks NFL content, NBA content, the whole shebang. And by the way, next year's quarterback class is completely loaded. I just want to throw that in there. Peace.